I'm a programmer by trade. I use Linux like a lot of programmers. It's an operating system a lot like Windows or Mac. And just like these operating systems, it has an app store. But the people who contribute to Linux and build these apps, they're the most nerdy, arcane, details-oriented sorts of people you can imagine. And the consequence of that is that they don't spend a lot of time thinking about how to market their tools. And so instead of, the clicker's not working. Instead of going to a designer or opening up Photoshop to build their icons, what they'll do is use this kind of default icon. It's just a box of rubbish, and that kind of bothered me. And so I thought, okay, this is going to be great. I'm going to contribute to the community. I'm going to build beautiful icons for these people. It's going to be wonderful, and I'm going to release them open source. So I opened up my image editor, and after a few hours, I had this thing, which it might be Connecticut or something. I'm not. It's just kind of a blob, and this really kind of distressed me. But I'm a tool maker, not just a tool user. So I sat down, opened my text editor instead, and started writing code. And after a few more hours, I had this. Now, this is not an icon that I generated. I wrote a program called Iconic that will generate thousands of these things. I mean, they just keep going on and on and on. And they're beautiful and strange and unique. And after a little while, I started to get a little bit disturbed by what was happening. Okay, I'll get back to that later. Every 6 months or so, there are these competitions called Ludum Dare. They're 24-hour or sometimes 48-hour game design competitions. And about 2 months ago, this thing popped out of one. Now, this is a game designed by a game developer named Angelina, who happens to also be a computer program. It's very curious. She was designed by a guy named Mike Cook, but it was Angelina, not Mike, who built this. It's called To That Sect. Then there's Emily Howell, also a computer program, who designs music. Her first album was released in 2010. We've started to make these curious little tools that act not as prosthetics for our bodies, like the kind of first generation of machines that we built, or prosthetics for our calculating ability, like the next generation, but instead prosthetics for our imaginations. And they do this creativity thing unintentionally sometimes. Google Poetics is this project I like a lot. It's a Twitter feed where all these humans get together and they look through Google autocomplete suggestions. And they find things like this, if you can't read it, that says, how to fight depression, how to fight anxiety, how to fight now, how to fight like Batman. I like that a lot. You know, like there's a lot of really interesting stuff in this creativity that comes out of algorithms. This is a set of chairs designed by Jan Houbraken, or the thing that produced these chairs was designed by Jan Houbraken. Because all of these chairs, they're sort of a form of digital life. Each of them has an inheritance of geometry that they got from their parents. They can be crossbred. And over the generations, different species of furniture will evolve out of these things. This is from one of my projects called Galapagos. It does a similar thing, but with jewelry. So you can, when you find one of these that you like, after selectively breeding them over several generations, the same way you would a cotton plant or a dachshund, by just saying, oh, I like this one, I like that one, let's put them together. I like this one, I like that one, let's put them together. There's no code necessary or anything. These things grow on their own, and you just say you like it or don't. After a few generations, when you find the ones that you like the most, you can print them out in silver or bronze or steel, and you have this strange material fossil of a digital life form. So there are these two narratives of our species. Right? The one that we're all really familiar with is that humans are special because we can make tools. We're a technology-based species, and that's what's at the sacred core of who we are. And that's true, like we can make tools, but to say that these tools that we make, like this image editor, are the special sacred core of what makes humans human, it's kind of like saying grumpy cat is It's grumpy, and that's what makes it special. In fact, it's so grumpy that all it is grumpy. It's not even a cat anymore. It's just like this platonic embodiment of what it is to be displeased. So I blame the disappearance of the horizon for this. There was a time, most of human history, when you and your tribe in the back of nowhere, like you could go out to the edges of your territory and see a thing that no human had ever seen before. Like the opportunity for real exploration, it was there and immediate. It was dangerous, but it was something that all humans grew up living with. That, I believe, is much more important than this fable of the toolmaker that we've been forced to tell ourselves. What I really think is that when we started to saturate the planet, for the last few generations, there's not a frontier that we can go to anymore. You can't run out west. You can't go and explore the North Pole. People have been there, right? They've been to the South Pole. They've been to the bottom of the sea. Like, unless you're really into spelunking, I mean, it's pretty much all been seen. So we had to start telling ourselves a new story, a different narrative than the epic of the explorer. And what we came up with when we looked around was, oh, humans are different because they make tools, right? And that's true. We can make tools. We can do it when we're forced to it. Necessity is the mother of invention, after all. But we explore reflexively. It's a thing that we do despite our own well-being sometimes. We can make a tool, but we have an appetite for exploration. So if I have anything to say to you today, it's that get ready, because there's this new generation of technologies that people that build new things can do for you that don't just shoehorn you into the role of a tool maker, but give you again an opportunity to be an explorer. This is really going to change the world. I mean, like, this is the thing that I got so upset about before, because I realized in building this one little tool that I had been building tools for years that put up a wall between the user and getting somewhere, right? There's a way, though I can't give you a new frontier out there in the physical world, in the digital world, I can give you an entirely new world to explore. When a technologist builds a tool that is difficult to use, it's more than just frustrating. It erects a wall between the explorer that you are and a new horizon that you want to get to. It's like sailing you to some distant shore and saying, see that thing out there? I don't care enough to let you go explore it. So if you're a tool builder like me, don't build your tools that are hard to use. Build tools that are a magic carpet, a telescope that can give people a new view into the world, a bush plane that can get them to some remote destination. Right? We can make vehicles for people to explore things, to augment our own creativity and imagination. And as a consequence, we can cater to what it is that is at the core of human beings. Not tool makers, but explorers. And when we do that, we can stop worrying that in the future our tools will be so arcane that no one will have sufficient training to use them, and we can begin to imagine a new civilization where all our tools are sufficiently creative and intelligent themselves, sufficiently intuitive for you to use, that no one will not be able to use them. That's a future worth fighting for. That's a future that matters. Thank you.